You're listening to the longest running weekly episodic Filipino wrestling podcast. This is the Wrestling Podcast. Stan C and Chino Liao with a bonus episode of the pod as we review another movie because your boys are actually getting invited to these advanced screenings now. And we're just so happy, so thankful na part na kami ng guest list for these events. So before we get to anything, we have to say thank you to our friends from Paramount Pictures Philippines and AdPub Hub for inviting us to the advanced screening of The Running Man, which we caught on IMAX sa Directors Club ng SM Mega Mall, and it's the brand new and revamped Directors Club Cinema. Kasi ba, Chino, we've been there na yung tipong isang buong row yung seats, diba? And now they've actually changed up yung seats ng Directors Club.
Yes, so they switched up the seats. That's a good point. Hindi ko napansin yan, but it was actually a lot more comfortable and experience. Also, nakakailang IMAX na tayo, guys. Nasasanay na kami. Sana tuloy-tuloy lang yung invite sa amin. Because what a trip to actually catch this movie in IMAX. Feeling ko sulit siya if you do.
Yeah. So The Running Man is an Edgar Wright movie starring Glen Powell, and it's a remake of the, I believe, 1987 movie?
1986.
86. Starring Arnold Schwarzenegger. Pre-Terminator 2 Arnold Schwarzenegger, as Chino told me right before we saw that movie no Monday night. And what are your initial thoughts coming out of the cinema?
So I was familiar with the original movie being brought up by a father who was so obsessed with the action movies of the 80s and the 90s. So kasama yan sa one of the original action movies that I saw, right? The Running Man. I saw that when I was a kid. Like very, very much too early for me to see. But I remember it being this campy sort of post-apocalyptic experience na parang almost B-movie-esque but still a blockbuster because it still had Arnold in it, and it really was a product of its time with how ridiculous the concept was. Diba? Arnold Schwarzenegger was playing a man by the name of Ben Jackson, right? With his accent, mind you. Same accent, di siya nagbago. Still, it's the same exact deal. So the campiness was there, the ridiculousness was there, and I'm glad that they carried it over to this new remake here. I'm glad that they still kept it as ridiculous and as insane a concept as it was. Diba? Kasi ang madami sa post-apocalyptic movies that are pretty grounded and pretty down to earth because we live in it right now, diba? Your 2012s of the world, diba? And your 28 days later of the world. We're living in it now. So the fact that we get a post-apocalyptic movie that still has a premise that's just as insane but still pretty realistic was a nice touch, and I really enjoyed that campiness that Edgar Wright brought to it.
Mm-hmm. I was really captivated by the all-star lineup. Like, what an all-star cast, diba? So Glen Powell is one of the main eventers, if you will, of this generation, diba? Of this decade. Leading man siya talaga. But you also have Josh Brolin as the main antagonist, diba? So he's like, he's Thanos, diba? And now here, he's the main heel in The Running Man. You've also got Coleman Domingo, who played my favorite character in the film, si Bobby T. What a storyteller, such a flamboyant presence. Nakakatuwang panoorin si Coleman Domingo in this role. It's actually pretty different from the other Coleman Domingo roles I've seen him in. So this was a great character for him. We also saw Michael Cera, William H. Macy in that cast, among others. So nakakatuwa how all of them came into play here. I also like, in general, yung mga dystopian movies. So, tulad na sinabi ni Chino, post-apocalyptic societies. And I don't know if you've seen the original Running Man. I'm talking to the listeners. But the original film and the movie, and the book were set in 2025. and the 2025 is about to end. So, that was not lost on me at all as I was watching the remake here. So, nakakatuwa rin yung touch na yun that they were able to release it in 2025. And for them to project this type of hyper reality with yung mga drones and yung constant surveillance and how parang sinasabi ng isang character na these screens don't watch you back, referring to yung old school TV sets, di ba? Parang you think to yourself na that's still a ways away, but then again, given how technology has advanced to this point, parang hindi na rin nalalayo na magkatotoo tong pinanood natin sa The Running Man. So something about that type of storytelling in those settings actually tickles my brain. Kahit na ang dark niya. So nakakatuwa yung mga ganun para sa akin. To have an underdog main character like Ben Richards was pretty compelling for me.
Yeah, there's an element of satire to it as well. Tama ka,
Yes.
di ba? The whole TV's watching us back aspect was there, but also the fact that the whole world was essentially controlled by a media corporation, 'di ba?
Yeah.
Yung 'di ba doon na pumapasok yung elements of AI and fake news, the things that we experience on the daily. Pinakita nila dyan sa movie na yan, 'di ba, with how
The
they
deep faking.
well, spoiler alert, there are some elements of deep faking there and fake news spreading there. So the fact that the media company was the one calling the shots, dictating world economies, diba? And infrastructure is pretty revelatory, and it pretty much, speaks to how we're living life at the moment.
Yeah. So, you could tell, di ba, na, as much as you might want to say na keep the politics away from my movie going experience. No, you can't do that. You really can't. You can't take politics out of anything anymore. And even though, as Chino said, may satirical elements itong The Running Man, it is very much a political film. You can see it, diba? And you find yourself rooting for the protagonist. You find yourself chanting along, Richards lives, diba?
Yeah.
So, in that sense, wrestling adjacent siya because that's the thrill, diba? The thrill of the chase that makes you want to root for the good guys or the baby faces. So that was something that I felt they did pretty well dito sa movie, even though if you get older, diba, you're a bit more jaded. You're like, oh, this is kind of predictable. Yeah, you can kind of see where some story beats are going, but it didn't make the experience of watching it any less fun.
Yeah, it also was very evocative of Edgar Wright's style, diba? Yung provocateur style niya, the fact that he uses visual elements to tell a story while also telling you a joke, a tongue-in-cheek joke that's right there in your face, diba? So it's very much his style. It's still a blockbuster in every sense of the word, with the amount of star power involved and the special effects and all that. But the fact that Edgar Wright was behind the director's chair here and really took his style and brought it to this movie, it really goes to show the kind of storytelling he's capable of.
Yeah, so for those of you who weren't there or didn't see us, katabi ko si Chino and he was talking about Edgar Wright quite a bit before the movie started. So I had to be like, what other films has he made that I've seen? And Scott Pilgrim versus the World, Ant-Man, he wrote that, and Baby Driver, one of my favorite films from the previous decade. Those are all Edgar Wright joints. So yeah, it tracks. Diba? I see it. If you looked at yung social media post namin following the screening, Chino also described the film as a comic book in the form of a movie, and I very much agree. Ganun talaga. It was a pretty good experience. I loved it. And if you're looking for something really fun to watch over the weekend, then I will recommend that you catch The Running Man.
Yeah, it's also opening in the US this weekend as well. So definitely nakauna tayo dyan. And it's definitely worth it. I really was looking forward to this movie. Number one, because Edgar Wright was in it. Number two, because of the star power involved. Diba? I'm a big Glen Powell fan. I watched Chad Powers, his Apple TV show. So ang ganda na he's getting all this rub after being such a bit player for so long, and the fact that you have people in this lineup, people like William H. Macy, diba? Emilia Jones, who was an Oscar nominee for Coda, she was there at the very end. So the fact that all these people got to say their parts in this movie was a good way to spend Tuesday evening.
Yeah. So thank you so much, our friends from Paramount Pictures Philippines and AdPub Hub, for having us at the advanced screening of The Running Man. Again, go catch it. It opens in theaters this weekend. And let us know what you think. At Wrestling Podcast on Facebook and Instagram. At Wrestling2XPod on TikTok and on Twitter and on Blue Sky. And hit us up individually at Chino Supersized, at _Stancy. Huwag na lang sinaro ni Emil. Baka ma-spoil sila eh. Baka ma-play natin pa kayo ng de oras. Alright? So we gotta get out of here. Thanks for catching another episode of the longest running weekly episodic Filipino wrestling podcast. For Chino Liao, I'm Stan C, reminding everyone to stay safe, stay dry, and stop watching me! Wrestling Podcast out.